Hi everybody, today's video is going to be a demonstration based on a question I had from one of my followers on Facebook. And this question comes from Barbara, and she asks me, do you think that you could do a video on splattering? I really struggle with it. I either end up with too small, too large, all in one spot, or feel like it doesn't do what I intend. And she goes on to say that she understands about holding the brush up high versus low and tapping, but sometimes she says, I guess I'm not sure how much paint, ink, or the consistency that I should be using. Sometimes I have maybe too much liquid, too thick of paint, so many factors for the good splatter. So I thought that I would just take this time to do a short demonstration on how I exactly achieve this. If you're familiar with my spirit animal series at all, you'll know that I use a splattering effect on every single one of the paintings that I've done. There have been, I think, 150 so far, which you can check out on Etsy if you have not seen those. But let's go ahead and get to it, and I will show you exactly how I achieve this effect. So let's get started. Okay, so here we have a piece of yupo paper, and it's just a scrap piece of yupo paper, and this looks absolutely filthy. I never clean this thoroughly, but this is what I rinse my paintbrushes in. And so the water here is not terribly clean, as you can see, but it will serve the purpose for today's demo. So this is what I use to do my splatters. It is a trusty toothbrush. This is what I use for all of my paintings, and it works absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to do a quick demo as to how I do this. I'm going to use the color. I'm going to use FW inks in black, and I think I'm going to use a little bit of cherry red in the Bombay, just because it will be easier to see. So we'll do the red first, and then I will show you on an actual painting that I do this on. So I get my trusty toothbrush completely soaked, and then I just sort of flick off the excess. Then I take my dropper and I just sort of tap a little bit of ink on there. Okay, just on the tip. So the toothbrush is wet, but it's not dripping wet. Okay, there's none that's just falling out onto my hand here. So now I'm going to set this aside. We're going to bring the paper over, and then I am just going to use my finger here, and I'm going to tap just very lightly. Okay, so you get one there. Now let's say that that's too big. Let's say I really just don't want it that big. I want something smaller, or I want a splatter in a different spot. Because there's a lot of water here to begin with on my toothbrush, I can pull that back up, and you cannot even tell that there was anything there. Okay, because there was water, because it was because there was water in there, it was diluted, you can do that. If it was straight up ink, it would be a little bit more difficult to do that. But because I have a lot of water in my toothbrush anyway, then I can do that. So I'm going to go back in. I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did before. I'm just going to tap it. And now I've got like a little splattering here. And I'm just going to tap over in this area. I don't do it hard at all. It is the lightest tap you can imagine, okay? And because if I do it like a real hard flick, then I'm going to get all of those, and it's just going to go everywhere. Now actually I kind of like that. I don't mind that so much if I really wanted a lot of splattering, but if you just want it in random places, or if you want to use different colors, then you're going to want probably something more along the lines of this. So I'm going to take my black, I'm going to do the exact same thing here. So rinse out the toothbrush, get it to where it's wet, but it's not dripping wet, okay? I don't have any coming off now as I do this. And then I just put a little bit at the tip, and then the very slightest amount. Now there's a big one right there. If I end up seeing it where I know that there's still a little bit too much on, I will flick it off in my water. And I may have to tap a little bit harder now because I've gotten more water off of the toothbrush, but I will have even more control. Okay, get smaller dots there. Okay, to where they won't be like this. And then of course, I'm sure if you've done splattering before, you know that you can also take your finger and turn it upside down, sort of point the toothbrush down at the paper, and then just drag your finger across, and then you will get teeny tiny splatters, which I love those. Those are amazing. And that gives you even more texture on your paper, as much or as little as you want. And really that's about all there is to it. I mean, it's easy enough. So that's how I do it. Now let's move on, and I will do it on an actual painting that I am just about done with. Let me move this sheet over here. I really just do not have a lot of room on my table. I have got to get more organized. I've got so much. I've got lunch sitting here on my art table, you name it. It's all just sort of all over the place. Okay, so what I'm working on now, actually nobody has seen this yet. This is for Halloween, and I am working on the Bride of Frankenstein, and actually my ink here is not drying the way I want it to, so I'm going to have to fix that a little bit first before I do my splattering, because if it dries like this, then I'm going to be very unhappy. Okay, so I'm going to move this a little bit because I don't want the glare of my light on her beautiful face. All right, so I am going to be using I don't really, cherry red. I don't really want cherry red for her. I'm going to be using flame red and black to do her splattering with, okay? So I'm just going to do the same thing here. Now you're not going to be able to see my water over here because I just don't have the room to show it, but this is, it's basically, I'm doing the exact same thing that I did before. I'm taking my toothbrush and I'm knocking off the excess water so that it's not dripping wet. I'm going to bring my ink over here and do this part over on this side so that I make sure that I don't drip any ink that I don't want on there deliberately. Okay, I'm tapping just the tip of the ink to the tip of my toothbrush, and I am going to tap very lightly. Okay, I like that. I really would, usually for my paintings, however it is, unless it's a really giant blob that I just cannot tolerate, I leave it. I am fine with things just being organic and just the way they are. If it's on there, then I say it was meant to be there. You just can't, when you work with ink, you just can't put too much emotion into it. You know, things are gonna just have to believe that they're there for a reason. They're gonna work out. So I like that. I don't think that I need any more than that. I might do a little bit of flicking down here on her dress just because I feel like it, and I think that it needs maybe just a little bit of texture here. I don't want to get up into the neck, so I'm going to cover that area with my hand. So yeah, just a little bit there, not too much. And now I'm going to rinse my toothbrush off, and I'm going to add a little bit of red. So I have to really rinse it here because I don't want to get any of that black in there, although a really deep, dark, sort of almost reddish black wouldn't be a bad idea. But for the sake of contrast, I'm not going to do that. All right, so I'm doing the same thing. Same thing I did before. I know I don't have to repeat what I did before, but anyway, just imagine me doing the exact same thing with my toothbrush. Got it on, you can see the tip there. And again, doing the same thing. Now I took off quite a bit of water here evidently because I'm tapping it and none is coming out. There we go. And do the same thing over here, down here. I kind of like it over here doing a little bit more red by where her hair is, since her hair is red, just to give it some interest. Okay, and then maybe down here a little bit. Okay, and I'm looking that over. Do I like it? Do I want to add it? Maybe add a little bit more red up here to break up this black. And there. And that's really it. I think that she looks fabulous. She's great. And she is done. So that is how I do my splattering. And if you have an old toothbrush lying around, it will be your best friend. And you will get the same results that I have here. Go crazy with it and, you know, do a lot of splattering if that's your thing. But the toothbrush is just, it's an inexpensive tool and it works wonders. It's all I use. So I hope you enjoyed this demo, and I will just see you next time. Okay, bye guys.